This meeting of council is now called to order. Agenda item 2.1, adoption of the agenda for the November 27th, 2018 regular meeting of council. Be adopted as amended to add an item to correspondence 6.2. Councillor Pearson, Councillor G, discussion, any other additions? All in favor? Carried. Item 3.1, adoption of the minutes of the previous regular meeting of council, that the minutes of the October 23, 2018 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented. Motion please, Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean. Any errors of omission? Probably from those that were present. I didn't see any. Councillor Blanchette, nothing. All in favor? Carried. Item 3.2, adoption of the minutes of the inaugural meeting of council, that the minutes of the November 6, 2018 inaugural meeting of council be adopted as presented. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, any errors or omissions from that meeting? Hearing none. All in favor? Carried. Item 4.1, delegations, Valemount Area Recreation Development Association, BARDA, topic of presentation and economic impact study. Mr. Polyak, the floor is yours.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you all for allowing me to speak tonight. So big thank you to Mayor and Council, and welcome to the new positions. It's cool to have you guys on board. I believe you all have in your agenda a copy of the recent economic development study, or economic study from Valemount Impact Study. We've been talking for years about the impact of the winter snowmobile industry to Valemount. We've never had hard figures. It's been some time since we've had some good statistical data to go off of. I think 1994 was the last study. It's been quite some time. And there was a lot of discussion on tools that we could use moving forward to show the importance of this within our community, to local government, to provincial government, as we're facing, I wouldn't say threats, but there are issues out there. There's competition over land base. There's wildlife habitat. There's a few things coming down, and we need to show how important snowmobiling is and has been to Valemount. So we commissioned this economic study in early winter of 2018. It was completed in, I think, September of 2018, and we're very proud of the document so far, highlighting kind of the main header page. The big number that everybody wants to hear is the $6.4 million a year annually invested into the community through the few months that we have snow on the ground and are able to play with it. 55 jobs related to the industry, and I can see with the population that we have, it's not hard to do the math to say we employ or indirectly employ quite a large percentage of people involved working in the community. I think this is a valuable tool that hopefully you as the village can use and we can use moving forward in discussions of the importance of this industry and how we can keep it sustainable and operable moving forward. I think it's a big impact to Valemount, obviously in the wintertime with staff and indirectly directly right to the economy. I think we can use it as a continued partnership between the village and VARDA and our board of directors and numerous other community organizations. VARDA, Yora, Community Forest, Village, we've all worked together for a very long time. And I think a tool such as this with hard data can just help us move forward even more. So just please keep it in the bank, share it as much as possible. We're here for questions and comments, and if you guys ever need assistance, we're always at the office via email and easy to get a hold of. But I think we encourage this to be shared and discussed and promoted, and it's only up from here. So,
Motion please to receive the delegation. Councillor G, Councillor Blanchette. Council, is there any questions of Mr. Polyak, VARDA, and this economic development study?
Just a comment. Thank you, and I do agree that it's a very good partnership that we have, and we'll keep it that way.
I certainly concur that it is a very powerful lobbying tool. It will be used in the future moving forward. Can you comment, I mean, nobody has a crystal ball, but with the Endangered Species Act and the Southern Mountain Caribou, how would something like that affect snowmobiling in the Valemount area? Should those closures be more stringent?
So VARDA works quite closely with the British Columbia Snowmobile Federation, who represents us on the Species at Risk Act and the Mountain Caribou Recovery Plan. Our friends to the south and to the north are getting hit pretty hard with some of the impacts of caribou protection. We strongly believe in caribou protection. Two of our main areas, Chapel Creek and Allen Creek, are surrounded by caribou closures. We believe that the closures are important for sure. We like to see science-based data. That's one of the big ones. We know in Allen Creek there hasn't been evidence of a caribou for 6 years or more now, and the herd was quite small when it was there. We're very, we put in a lot of effort. VARDA's had a lot of individual programs based on wildlife protection, education. We've spent a large amount of time and money over the years doing education, promotion, and discussion on behaving with the caribou closures and boundaries within our riding areas. If we actually look at a map, the importance of this document is perfectly in time with what we're dealing with right now. If we look at a map of the areas that these 25,000 people a year are actually, and that's just in Valemount, are actually allowed to ride, they're pinheads on a large scale map. So we are already fishholed, or shoehorned, sorry, I should say, into tiny little areas actually. The way the snowmobiling grew was we were able to explore, and we loved to travel country, and now it's all about more because of wildlife restrictions and other industry restrictions. We're now into these quite small areas, and these small areas are extremely important to our industry right now. Yeah.
Thanks for the comment. Any other questions from council? Comments?
I'll just comment, I mean, it's a great example of what you bring into the community, so well done.
Keep it up, Mr. Pollack.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further discussion from council regarding the delegation? Hearing none, all in favor to receive? Sure. Carried. Item 4.2, another delegation, this time from the Valemount Glacier Destination Resort. I believe Mr. Tommaso Alberti is in the room. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you for welcoming my very small delegation. My father sends his regrets and his congratulatory message as well. This is the third mayor and council we've had the privilege of working with, and we've had an amazing working relationship with the elected representatives of Valemount. We expect that this mayor and council will have a very prominent role in the opening of Valemount Glacier Destinations and ribbon cutting. So your timing is excellent in getting elected this time. If I can just be a little bit whatever. But the project is taking longer than we had anticipated in terms of the financing. The due diligence period took significant amount of work, and it was finished in January. It continues to go on from our end, from the Vancouver office, and in terms of updating economic numbers and performance, et cetera. The financing process started in January. My understanding is that these typically take a year and even up to 2 years to complete. We're approaching the 1 year anniversary of when the financing process started. We have received very positive messages from Toronto in terms of where they are. We don't have specifics and we don't have timelines, so we're patiently waiting for that information. We're also preparing. We have a project management plan for the construction of the resort, and our friends in Toronto know that in order to meet the deadline of the master development agreement in terms of having specific lifts open by 2022, it's a ticking clock, and they have a year of grace in terms of a 2-year construction window. They're very well aware of that, and they're trying not to use up that year of grace in terms of the construction window. And this is for a full opening to the glaciers, which is the design intention at the moment. We're also working on alternative scenarios where we do an opening to Mount Trudeau and to the backside of Mount Trudeau, and then move on to the glaciers, in 2 or 3 year segments afterwards. So we have a couple scenarios ready to go in terms of how it would work with the pro forma and how it would work economically. And when I say we, sorry, I'm talking about FEDIAS and the the design team and project management team. We as Valemount Glacier Destinations are very optimistic in where we're at, other than the fact that it's taken a bit longer than we were hoping for, say about 2 years ago. And that's kind of a rambling conversation, but bottom line, we're ready to go. We want to see what Toronto has to say in January. We're again, we went to Toronto in when was it? September 10th, I think it was. Had a great meeting with Greg Blanchette and Hunter Milbourne, and I can't divulge who they're talking to, but it's VGD is only part of a financing process that involves other projects as well that they're doing. So that's my understanding of the complexity of the process and the reason why it's taking time. There's a lot of lawyers on it and economics people, and we in terms of FEDIAS provide the information that they required, and we have everything available to them. So hopefully, we're doing everything we can to expedite the process. In other words, so that's basically where we stand.
Thank you very much. Motion to receive the delegation, please. Councillor G, Councillor Pearson. Questions or comments, discussion with Mr. O'Burley? Councillor Blanchette.
Thank you for coming and talking to us and for continuing to keep everybody in the loop. Even if it's this much information, it's better than hearing nothing. Yeah. So I want to thank you for keeping that iron in the fire and keeping us all informed.
I really appreciate that. It's when I came to speak to the Chamber of Commerce, I explained that I wasn't allowed to say very much in terms of where we're at with the financing process. I'm still not, but other than the fact that it's taking time, these processes take 1 year to 2 years to complete normally for a project of this type, and that we're doing everything we can in terms of FEDIAS to provide the information that's required. And to provide, be flexible in terms of if they decide, it's public knowledge that the financing mechanism is a real estate investment trust, and the intent was to raise all the money up front to do the whole project. We're working on scenarios where that may be done in tranches over 2 or 3 years, and the project works very well that way as well. But we're just trying to provide the information necessary to Greg Blanchette and Hunter Milbourne in Toronto to help them with the process. So
communication's really good, so thank you for that.
Yeah, I wish I could do better.
I sent you an email, and within a day you had sent me back one, so it's really appreciated.
Sorry, thank you. So we're sometimes finance people aren't really cognizant of what it means on the ground in terms of people's perceptions. And I'm trying to say this nicely, but we certainly, we were the ones answering the phones, we were the ones answering emails, and talking about FEDIAS here. And when you're sitting in an office in Toronto, you're not very cognizant of the fact that your perspective is different, right? So we're very aware of the need to communicate with the people of Valemount, but we also urge patience. It's not, in the grand scheme of things, for a local project, it's not a small project, and it takes time. It takes time whether you're building a high-rise, whether you're building a ski area, or whether you're building, retirement community. It takes time to do the financing, especially with these real estate investment trusts. And also, as I mentioned, this is part of a larger financing, we understand. We're not privy to it, but that in my amateur understanding of how Bay Street works is, adds a level of complication to the process. So.
Other comments, questions from council? Well, I can rest assured and assure you that we're with you and with patience.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
And we thank you for taking the time to come and see us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion points around the delegation? Hearing none, all in favor of receipt? Carried. Item 5.1, council appointments to standing and select committees. Just for transparency, this was discussed at a committee of the whole meeting to be ratified this evening. And of course, all committee of the whole meetings that are able to be open to the public are actually open to the public. So that the following appointments are ratified by Council. Tourism Committee, Councillor Pearson with Councillor G as the alternate. Direct Heat Use Committee, Councillor MacLean. Economic Development Committee, Councillor Pearson. And the Housing Committee, Councillor Blanchette. Motion, please. Councillor G, Councillor Blanchette. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. 5.2, external boards and committee appointments. That the following are ratified by Council. Valemount Area Recreation Development Association. I will continue with that portfolio. Prince George Treaty Advisory Committee, Councillor G. Number 3, Robson Valley Region Marketing Initiative Steering Committee, myself. Valemount Entertainment Society, Councillor MacLean. Trans-Canada Yellowhead Association Liaison, Councillor Pearson, myself as his alternate. Municipal Finance Authority, the MFA of BC, Councillor G with myself as her alternate. The Municipal Insurance Association of BC, MIA, Councillor Blanchette with Councillor MacLean as the alternate. Our Local Health Liaison with Northern Health, Councillor Blanchette. The Canoe Recreation Center Community Consultation Committee, Councillor Pearson. The Valemount and District Fire and Rescue Community Consultation Committee, that's a mouthful. Councillor Blanchette. The the Columbia River Treaty Local Governments Committee, Councillor MacLean. The Columbia Basin Regional Advisory Committee, Councillor MacLean. I'm taking on all things CRT, thank you. Our liaison to the Simpcw First Nation, Councillor G. And finally, the Valemount Historic Society, Councillor Pearson. Motion, please. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion. All in favor? Carried. Item 5.3, the Clean Air Task Force. Recommendation here from that committee of the whole meeting that a creation of a Clean Air Task Force be initiated and a terms of reference be drafted, and that Councillors Blanchette and MacLean be appointed to said task force. Motion, please. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor Pearson, discussion. All in favor? Carried. Council appointments to the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel. That pursuant to the Community Charter, Councillors Blanchette, MacLean, and Pearson be appointed to the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel for the purpose of authenticating additions to the parcel tax roll and reviewing requests for amendments to the 2019 parcel tax roll. Motion, please. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor MacLean, discussion. All in favor? Carried. Correspondence for action. We have in item 6.1 for the consent process, the Valemount Area Fire Protection Local Service Establishment Bylaw number 1163, Amendment Bylaw number 311, 2018. That notification be provided to the Regional District Fraser Fort George by way of certified resolution indicating that the municipality consents, or not, on behalf of the electors to adoption of Regional District Bylaw Number 3111-2018. Motion, please. Councillor Pearson, are you in support that we consent?
Consent.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Blanchette. Discussion.
Just a comment, I read that they haven't increased this limit since 2009. And then it's quite a big jump all at once. And that maybe we could recommend that they do smaller increases more frequently rather than one large increase. That could be a little bit hard for fixed income people to accept.
That's a great idea. Is there, we could append that to, without, beyond the resolution in that letter to?
We could vote on this, and then if you'd like to send something to that effect.
Or if we want to just add a comment, administrative comment, maybe we'll just say, and it was also discussed.
Okay.
Sure.
Great idea. All in favor? Or sorry, was there any further discussion? I'll call that carried. The conservation agreement for caribou protection, I think, I'll just open this for discussion with a motion, please. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette. I received this letter today from Marilyn Hall of the City of Prince George. I hope you've had a chance to review it. Essentially, my takeaway from it is that there's movements at the federal and provincial level about the southern mountain caribou and potential closures that aren't being consulted at the community level. The 9 mayors and chairs that you see on this letter feel that it's imperative that the community government, provincial government especially, engage us and involve us in the discussion taking place as it relates to impacts of resource and tourism development in the north and interior. I'm looking for council support that that Valemount Right pen their own letter and make reference to this letter to the 4 ministers. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Reading file, does anybody have anything to drag out of the reading file? Item 8.1, BC Electrical Vehicle Charging Station. A slight amendment, if I can have council's endorsement, in principle, that adequate parking be made available to BC Hydro at the proposed location, Dogwood Street between 4th and 5th Avenue, for the installation of an electric vehicle fast charging station, and that the fence line of the on Dogwood Street be moved further west. Councillor Pearson, Councillor MacLean, any discussion on the hearing none? Yeah, Councillor Pearson.
So my question, the moving of the fence line, would that be included in the installation cost? Or is that a village cost to move our fence line?
Mr. Administrator.
Your Worship, if I could refer to our Economic Development Officer who's here this evening, he may have more details.
Mr. Gislenberty.
I cannot answer of the moving of the whole fence. I know that BC Hydro would have been paying for just the part that's needed for the 2 stalls.
Okay.
So probably a third of the fence, and I'm sure that's something that we can ask them. And probably it's even easier to just move the whole thing than making that angle around the stalls.
Okay, thank you.
I know it'd be to, Councillor Pearson, it'd be to our advantage to have that fence line moved in just slightly, as I'm sure you've been on Dogwood where there's a rear bumper to get around.
Yep, no, exactly, yeah. Thank you.
All in, any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Housing Committee is asking, 8.2 Housing Committee request to appoint members, that staff be directed to advertise for new housing members for 2019. We have a motion. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, discussion. I'm just happy that this committee is looking to continue their work. All in favor? Carried. 8.4, retail sale of cannabis, that a committee of the whole meeting be scheduled. 8.3, oh, reallocation of funds. How about that? Funny, I missed that. Housing Committee is requesting to reallocate funds, that the unspent funds from the boundary extension study of approximately $9,000 be allocated to an affordable housing demand survey and open house plan for January 15th, 2019. It's Council's wish. Council Blanchette, Councilor G. Questions, discussion, hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. 8.4, retail sale of cannabis. Recommendation is that a committee of the whole meeting be scheduled no later than December 5th to discuss regulation and licensing for retail cannabis sales within the village of Valemount. My hopes that if this motion is passed, that just council coordinate with Ms. Shepherd for your scheduling. Is there a motion? Councilor Pearson, Councilor G, any discussion? Again, just coordinate with Ms. Shepherd, please. Carried. All in favor? Carried. Accounts payable report, that the October 2018 accounts payable report be received for information. Motion, please, Councilor Pearson, Councilor Blanchette. Any questions out of that accounts payable report? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried. 2019 natural 8.6 2019 Natural Resources Forum. The recommendation that we confirm who will attend the 2019 BC Natural Resources Forum in Prince George, January 22nd to the 24th for 2019. Councillor Pearson, will you be taking 2 flights back? Or
I'll be unavailable for that, thank you.
You'll be doing your own resource research.
I will.
Is there any anybody from council that would like to attend? I know from the previous administration, both Mayor Townsend, Councillor Reimer both have accolades for this forum. It's an awesome learning experience. Hearing Councillor MacLean?
I have been before at my own expense, and I really did enjoy it. If someone else is wanting to go, I wouldn't push it, but I would like to do it.
Okay. I would accept that as a motion.
Okay.
Is there a seconder that Councillor MacLean attend the BC Natural Resource Forum in Prince George? Councillor Blanchette, any discussion? Thank you, Councillor MacLean. Carried. 8.7, Valemount Community Forest, that the following be approved by separate resolution. Number 1, certificate of limited partnership pursuant to Section 51 of the Partnership Act, RSBC 1996, Chapter 348, Valemount Industrial Park Limited Partnership. Motion, please. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G. Discussion. All in favor? Carried. And that number 2, certificate of limited partnership pursuant to Section 51 of the Partnership Act, RSBC 1996, Chapter 348, Valemount Community Forest Limited Partnership. Motion, please. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette, discussion. All in favor? Carried. Nothing in bylaws or policies. Item 10, council reports. Councillor G.
I don't have anything to report.
Okay. Councillor Blanchette.
On the 15th, we had a housing meeting, and things are progressing nicely. This is a really hard-working group, so I just want to let everybody know that they really are working hard to tackle this really difficult situation. And we're making some headway. On the 20th, we all attended the council orientation. I believe you were there.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
And we had a committee of the whole for the committee assignments. And then yesterday, the 27th, I had an elder care collaborative meeting, and that committee as well is growing. We had a full house, and we're taking steps to see about getting some assisted living here. So fingers crossed, and we're working on it.
Councillor MacLean?
I too thought I had nothing to report, but I was at the orientation, and I'm sorry, I don't have anything else to report.
Your plate just got a little fuller after the
It
appointments
did,
tonight.
it did.
Councillor Pearson?
I as well attended the council orientation and the council of the whole meeting, and nothing else to report.
I joined you all, orientation, council, committee of the whole. And on Wednesday, the 21st, the CIO and I met with Mrs. Ramirez's class from the elementary school with the intention of them learning a little bit more about local government, what mayor and council does. I had a whole curriculum planned out, and then we just identified things in the room, such as the previous mayors, previous council, what the flags were, what that microphone was for, what the little clips underneath the desk were for, what the nameplate said, and how they were standing out. It was really a really cool learning experience. Are there any questions from other councillors to the other members regarding the reports? Hearing none, motion please to receive the reports by mayor and council. Councillor MacLean, Councillor Pearson, all in favor? Carried. No new business, nothing under the file tracker. Calendar events is present. Item 14.1, public comments on items considered by council this evening as part of the approved agenda. Second call.
Is this for public comment?
It is for public comment.
Okay. Pursuant to the
Just your name and your area of residence.
Eugene Jamin from Valemount, BC. I hear that you have a scheduled retail sale of cannabis. I believe at the forum, candidates forum, there was mention of having a public meeting, and I would really encourage that. The second item, that escapes me, the second item. It came to mind.
Thank you for your comment. Yeah, go ahead, Eugene.
I remember. There was also a recommendation that possibly the public comment could go precede the business. And if that would be received as this is something that we would encourage to happen.
Thank you. Other public comments? Motion please to receive the public comments this evening. Councillor Pearson, Councillor Blanchette. All in favor? Carried. Item 15.1, notice to proceed in camera. The council proceed to an in-camera council meeting for consideration of one item per section 91K of the community charter to discuss matters related to K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are in their preliminary stages and that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality if they were held in public. Motion please. Councillor Blanchette, Councillor G, all in favor? Carried.